Good morning, everybody. It's the pollinator, and despite the political connotations of the Black Panther superhero movie, I'm gonna do it again. I get a kick out of that. Listen, yeah, there are a lot of things that have been said about that movie. This is not about the Black Panther movie, by the way. This vlog is not going to be about that. But I thought I'd try to make it a little clear that while I agree with a lot of the assessments around why that movie is so popular and the reasons why Hollywood let it squick it through. For everybody who grew up watching superheroes, dreaming about them, fantasizing about them, wearing the clothes of superheroes in the past, I still say that one of the coolest things about that movie is the fact that there were so many black superheroes in that movie. So that's all I'm going to say about the Black Panther. I'm not sure what to name this video, this vlog. And while I'm thinking about that, I want to make a note that even though it's this stupid camera, I can't wait to get a better camera because this one makes me look like I just have no hair, like I'm bald. It is thinning out right here, probably because of all the stress a year has taken out of me. But I do have hair. I just get it cut extremely short because if I let it grow in, it is so coarse that I don't feel like dealing with it at all. So I get it cropped down extremely short, and because it'd probably be totally white if I did let it grow out, which comes from the Gibson side of my family. Actually, it comes from both sides of my family. My mother's maiden name, she was a Johnson, and but most of the Gibsons had almost white hair by the time they were in their 60s. And I found out while my mother was alive that she actually started graying in her 20s, which was amazing to me because I did not know that she had gray hair until it all fell out. And then as it started coming back in, I said, Mom, you have a lot of gray hair. She said, maybe it's been that way since I was in my 20s. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, vanity. Women into dyeing their hair. Well, men do it too. So anyway, this vlog is coming out of a conversation that I had with a lady whose partner, and I'm not going to call that partner a she, because they're grappling with the notion of transitioning and just hasn't gotten there yet. But the conversation that I had with this lady was very eye-opening and something that didn't happen in Women Supporters of Transmen, although I was hoping topics like this came up in there so that some of the women that were in there could get support around their partner transitioning, or their partner considering transitioning, or their male partner being early on in their transition. But and some of the things that I'm going to say are also scattered throughout my vlogs, but they'll all all of that stuff will be pulled together in this one. Listen, this lady, I don't know how she identifies in the sexual arena. I think she identifies as a lesbian, and her partner is identifying as a lesbian stud. So I'm having this conversation with her, and she's very eager to learn, what this world is all about. And at the same time, I noticed something for the first time with her, that preconceived notions that she has about what we go through, the changes, the mental changes, the psychological changes that we go through as the longer we're on testosterone, which we call T for short. Most of the FTM groups that I'm in, and I'm not in any non-binary groups, so I'm not sure how they refer to that hormone, but we call it T. And I said, ooh, you think you know what's going to happen, but you don't know what's going to happen to your man if and when he starts testosterone. And because it's not written about, folks. The only things you're going to see in researching what testosterone does is from the medical profession. And guess what? They do not know the mental and psychological effects of this hormone on us. All you're going to see out there is a lot of physical changes that are going to occur, some emotional changes that may or may not occur, but the mental and the psychological is completely left out. And I think, and this is just a theory of mine, I think the reason for that is because we have not been studied in that arena. The pharmaceutical companies don't care what what mental and psychological effects this hormone has on us. And the medical doctors that prescribe this in the United States are endocrinology doctors, and you really don't ever have the kind of appointments with them where they sit down and ask you in a therapeutic way what you're going through as you go through it. So as you are on testosterone and it starts to change you, like I said, all they know is the physical and the emotional changes. That's probably all you're going to see when you're out there researching about us. And interestingly enough, many trans men don't talk about what happens to them maybe 2 years, what has happened to them over a 2-3+ year period of time. So it's not written about. So let me tell you how come this came up. Was because this lady is under the assumption that because she and her partner, her lesbian stud partner, who is having a heck of a time embracing this about himself, and until he does, and until he starts testosterone, you think there's a lot of things you don't think are going to happen when you're on this hormone. You don't know anything about what's going to happen mentally and psychologically. You're just going to know that some physical things are going to change, and your emotions may go through a roller coaster ride. But because this lady and her man have no idea what happens as you transition. She thinks nothing is going to change as far as them talking about whether he's going to have top surgery, whether he's going to have bottom surgery, and what that's going to mean to their relationship. Which I quickly asked her as I observed her thinking, well, we've already talked about this, and and he don't want to have top surgery. He's not considering bottom surgery, so I'm safe. Because here's the question I asked was, well, what if in the a year after he starts testosterone, he decides he does want to have bottom surgery? And what if a year or two down the line, he wants a full-sized penis? Because there's two surgeries you can get on the bottom. One is medioplasty, and the other is phalloplasty surgery. Medioplasty just detaches the, I don't even want to say the female word for this, but I'm just going to say what we call it, which detaches the dick from the labia so that it is more pronounced. But it does not have hardly any girth, and it barely has much length. There are some trans men who are fortunate enough to end up with a rather large, considering no surgeries at all, what looks and appears to be, a small penis. But those are like I said, the lucky ones. But phalloplasty, on the other hand, is a procedure by which they take skin from your forearm or your legs, your thighs, and they're talking about taking it from other places, but that's as far as technology goes right now, is that they pull the skin from the arm, they pull skin from the legs, and they roll a penis, and they attach it to your private area. They take the vein out of your arm from here all the way down and make it possible for you to urinate from your penis, from your new penis. And they do the same for medioplasty. You're able to stand and pee with your penis, that they make by detaching the clitoris from the labia. So I asked her, well, if he decides that, are you going to leave him? Are you going to support him? Are you going to be afraid of his penis? What if? Because let me tell you what happened to me. When I first started testosterone, I never once thought about top surgery until I'd been on testosterone for over a year. I think about a year and 4 months. And I may not have even thought about it had I not got frisked like a man at the airport. And that experience pushed me over that edge. I no longer wanted to be, the way that they frisk you up top at the airport was rather, I almost felt violated. Because he pinched my nipples and, was feeling all over this area without realizing I had a binder on. And I didn't let on at the airport that this is what was going on my upper half. So I just let it happen, but I noticed the feelings. That was leaving the area that I live in. Coming back, I got frisked again because my belt set off the sensors. And instead of letting me take the belt off and walking back through that, whatever they call that area, that has the sensors in it, instead of just letting me take my belt off and walk back through, they decided to ask me or tell me they wanted to do a full body search. So it happened on the way back, and more, because they really went for the bottom half pretty extensively at the airport coming back from burying my sister. So it probably wasn't a day or two after I returned back home that I decided I needed to have top surgery. Now, mind you, this is not how I was thinking before I started T, and for a year after I started it. I was happy enough wearing a binder. And even the binder was an afterthought. It was just something that I thought, well, when I was a kid and I thought pecs were going to show up, and instead these other things showed up, I wondered what it would look like if I got a binder. And it wasn't anything more complicated than that. It was just curiosity of what it would look like, what I would look like in a binder. It wasn't no overwhelming thought put into it. So I bought one, and I've been wearing them ever since. Now, long-term use of binders can actually damage your chest, which is why it is so important that once you are permanently deciding to have them removed and have top surgery, why it's important not to wear a binder very, very long term, because it can actually damage the tissue in your chest. So that's the top. The bottom, I'm just now, and I've been on, what's the date? I've been on testosterone since October 30th, 2015. So this is going on, approaching my third year on this stuff. And I'm just now beginning to think about bottom surgery, and I don't know which one I would get. I'm not very happy with the results of medioplasty, and I'm also not happy with what we have to go through for phalloplasty. But if I had a partner who wanted everything to remain the same, I'd be in trouble. Because it became real clear to me real quick that lesbian that I was chatting with is probably praying to hell right now that does not happen. And she thinks just because they made a decision before he even starts anything. I mean, this guy is so deep in the closet about it, he ain't going nowhere for a while. So she's virtually safe from anything he may or may not want to do in the future. Things change. Our thoughts change. Physiologically, we change. Psychologically, we change. So whatever you was thinking before you even got on T may change. And anybody who is with a transgender man or woman or other before they start transitioning and while they're transitioning have to transition too. And be prepared for anything. They don't know how he's going to feel a year, 2, 3 from the time he starts testosterone. Because, like I said, very odd things make us change our mind. And then what? Are all these lesbians who are afraid of men get afraid and run away from that man? Or are they going to be able to roll with what may or may not happen as he transitions? And these are the kinds of questions that went on. Well, not these precise questions, but it was around the same area of questioning that went on in the group that I had called Women Supporters of Transmen, where the reason why I have men and women in there was in case some of the women start asking questions like this and the men could answer. But unfortunately, it never really got that deep in there, and I shut the group down because of some racist crap that happened in the group. And people have been asking me on and off ever since I shut it down whether I was going to start another one, and it's like, hell no. Who the hell wants to? It is hard to run a group. It's hard to be an admin of a group. It's very difficult, and we don't get paid for this. And so if crap breaks out and drama breaks out and men get hot-headed because they're not stabilized on testosterone, we got to put up with a whole bunch of crap. Then I found out that, and not just crap from the men, but the women too, because if the men got mad, the women got mad too. And if it happened to be something I said, I got it from him, and then I got it from her. And their friends, if they were in there. I didn't get paid enough to tolerate that bullshit, so I shut it down. But the partners who are not transgender, who are with these men, and it was only for binary men. It was not for transgender men. Non-binary transgender people. And that was for a reason, but I'm not going to go into why. But these women don't have support groups, local or very many on the Facebook platform. There's not any groups really to support them as they transition with us. There are groups out there that, have them combined in the group, but they're really not, they're really not talking about things like this in those groups, from what I've observed over the last couple of years and going on 3 years. Which was the uniqueness of that group, is that I made sure the men did not take over that group, and I didn't allow men that were looking for women in that group. They were only in there to support their women as they discussed the trials and tribulations of what they went through as a result of their man's transition. If the guys tried to take over a post, boom, I'd sit them down. If they tried to start something that was all about them, boom, I sat them down, because that was their space. We were just there to learn and observe the effects that our taking the hormone testosterone was having on them. Now, maybe, from this vlog, somebody may decide to create a group like that. And all I could say to you is you better fucking be strong enough, and you better be willing to put in the time, and you better be willing to put up with a whole bunch of nonsense from especially younger people, while trying to maintain that group for women with their man in there with them. There were times when I would flat out say, if you're in here to put a thumb on her head and not let her express herself in this group, then get out. I did that quite a few times, and they didn't like it, but I didn't care. because I knew what the purpose of that group was. I created it. It was an offshoot from another group, but I'm the one who created the, I don't want to say business model, let's say the group model for that group. So I made this vlog basically to tell the women and men, because transgender people span the spectrum of sexualities. So I'm saying this just as much for gay trans men as I am for heterosexual trans men who are with women. That your man is going to go through some mental changes, and he's going to go through some psychological changes and things that he did not think about prior to transition, or he didn't even think about first few months of transition. He didn't think about the first 6 months, year and a half, 2.5, 3 years. This can go on and on and on. At any point in time throughout his transition, he may change his mind or make up his mind to do something different than he thought he would do in the beginning, or he thought he would do before even starting testosterone. There are quite a few universities out there and various organizations that are beginning to get hip to the fact that research needs to be done on the effects of these hormones on the opposite body that you were born in. But they're just now barely getting off the ground, and they're not the questions that are asked have nothing to do with what I'm talking about, because I participate in them, as many of them as I can. And the questions are not this deep. They don't ask about your psyche. They don't ask about the decisions you made prior to transition, the decisions you made during the first 6 months of your transition, the decisions you made a year, 2, 3, and onward into your transition. They don't ask questions like that in these studies. So it's probably going to take the medical industry a very long time to catch up to the effects this hormone is having on the people they're prescribing it to and people who are taking it, because people aren't asking these kinds of questions, and they don't know that these kinds of things happen inside of the transition. So that's a long way to say that, you know what, after 2.5 years, almost 2.5 years, I forgot when that's gonna be, I'm starting to think about bottom surgery. But I may or may not ever have that done, because I wish there could be human transplants, but that technology is so far off, I probably won't be alive when it happens. There is a group of men who are working with scientists to study the effects to study stem cell research. Not only are transgender people watching whenever the attempt to attach a human penis on a cisgender man occurs, but they're also looking at other methods of naturally creating a human penis. And whether you get phalloplasty or mediaplasty, if you get testicles, they're prosthetic. They are silicone testicles. They're not real testicles, and they do not produce sperm. Our bodies will never produce sperm unless science figures out how to do that. They're just there for show. And they can make them look any way you want them to look, but they're not functional. So was there anything else I wanted to say about bottom surgery other than people decide after they've been on testosterone for a while, to have those surgeries done? So whatever you think is going to happen before it ever happens is null and void, because you don't know how people are going to grow and change. You don't know what trans men will or will not decide to do in the future. It's not, if it, you think it, you basing that on today, think again, because that could change. And so if you are a lesbian with a trans man, you need to prepare yourself for what could happen. Have those conversations, have them in a honest, open way, transparent way. Get through your fears about it, because you know, if you stand in the way of your man's transition and it starts pushing on your insecurities, and your insecurities start pushing him back not to transition because you're scared, your relationship is probably not going to last. They have not done any studies on how many transgender couples make it and how many do not make it through this transition. And it's probably based on some of this stuff that I'm talking about. That, you know, over time, somebody decided, well, yeah, no, I don't want breasts anymore. And the partner could have been so used to them that they get upset at the thought of not having that part on their man's body. Same thing with the bottom part, is that you could put yourself in a situation where you're making ultimatums about what you will or won't do based on their decisions on what to do with their body. If I can akin this to anything, it would be like a woman's right to abort an unborn child. Pro-life or pro-choice? Are you going to be pro-choice? Or are you going to say, if you do that, I'm leaving. Or if you do that, you're going to have a hard time with me. Or if you do that, our relationship isn't going to last. If those kind of ultimatums are made, you're indirectly or even directly getting in the way of somebody's transition. And how secure is that? You know, it's one thing to say, oh, hey, I support him 100%. Then to find out, well, I support him unless he does that. Or I support him unless he does that. Well, then that's not 100% support. And in fact, you're probably going to try to avoid a real conversation with that man about what he may or may not want, because you don't want it. Oh man, this stuff can get deep. I'm telling you, it can get deep. And if you don't address it openly and honestly and earnestly and transparently, it's going to hit you in the face like a ton of bricks, and y'all going to end up arguing about it. Or it's going to take you by surprise, or you're going to just veer away from encouraging your man to transition because you're afraid of what's going to happen in the future. It's all human psychology, folks, and you got to be prepared for anything, which is no different than being in love with someone and having some part of their body not be the same anymore, be it because of illness, be it because of disease, be it because of being deployed in the military and having some part of your body blown off. Whatever it is, you got to be able to roll with what's going to happen, what could happen in your future. So that's all I jumped on here to say, was to try to just scratch the surface of the mental and psychological, physiological changes that trans men go through on testosterone. I've said in previous vlogs that for many of us, it makes our temperament change as well. You know, a lot of the women that were in my group complained that their man was going from 0 to 100. But you know what? That's not unusual for a man, for a cisgender man. Problem is, they didn't start thinking they were with a man, and that man wasn't on testosterone. But so it's almost like they have to study cisgender men in order to know that this is what happens to a lot of men, and definitely a lot of female to males that are going from female to male in their transition, and they're on testosterone. So there's just a whole bunch of stuff that I would love to get into, but I don't want to make this video any longer than it is right now. And I just wanted to, I hope the lady I was chatting with understands where I'm coming from in here, as much for her as for her man, who has not decided, who has not embraced who he is yet. Any conversation you're having with him before he even starts testosterone, let alone being on testosterone, is a whole different ball of wax than what you're talking about with each other right now. He hadn't even embraced who he is yet, let alone know what he's going to do a year or two after he does. So get ready. Get ready, set, go. I hope this is, yep, we're in the middle of the week. So I hope everybody has a blessed week, and be too blessed to be stressed. Pollinator out. Peace.